Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the Frontline Changes Report for the day of 885 for the 27th of July. So, the past 24 hours, a lot of frontline changes and very significant ones. There is a mix. The first two will be the Ukrainian successes, but then everything else is just massive shit show for the Ukrainian side, where the Russians are capturing huge amount of grounds. So frontline changes over Lipsy, Nevsky, Vasily, Novoselivka, Persha, Yasnobrodivka, Krasnohorivka, Maximilianivka, Konstantinivka, Vodian, and Robotine. So these are the frontline changes that we'll be going through. Over at the Kharkiv front at Lipsy, there is some updates from the Russian mapping. The Russian mapping have now disclaimed certain part of this gully region or this valley region where the Ukrainians actually have now a more advanced position. Russians only claim up to this point, which means that the Ukrainian forces have actually retaken this position, or the Russians have never taken this position over at Lipsy, south of Klipoke, where the main fighting is currently happening. So the main battle is over in the Klipoke region. So the next frontline change is all the way at Nevsky at the Svatove front, and there is a geolocation of Ukrainian forces along this junction of tree lines, which invalidates Russian mapping, confirming that the Ukrainians actually have a much more advanced position than previously suggested based on Russian mapping. So this means that the Ukrainian mapping might be a bit more accurate in this sense. So this is Nevsky. The next frontline change is over at Vasily. So we go into the Avdiivka front. So in case you do not know, Donetsk city, Avdiivka city is over here. This is the Avdiivka city. So the Avdiivka front, and we are now at this front line over here. So the over at Vasily. So the previous reported breakthrough, where the Russian forces have suddenly made massive progress. Okay, I need to zoom out a bit because it's so crazy. So Russian forces previously was reportedly to have taken Khrushchev. They have expanded their control based on our last frontline changes report, and now, other than just pushing up to Ivanivka, they have now continued their advance down the railway line. So this was already pretty shocking. Now the Russians have even expanded the control south of Vasily, taking many tree lines and going further down from the railway line. And they have also taken the eastern part of Vasily. And this is massive, which means that they are about to siege Vasily in the pincer movement coming from the east and the south. So Vasily is going to fall very soon. Then the fact that the Russians made such a quick progress over a course of 24 hours, gaining 1 kilometer, shows that the Ukrainian lines here has entirely collapsed. The line, there is no defense here. The Russians are moving very quickly. So you may think 1 kilometer doesn't sound very long, but you have to understand that there might be minings, there might be ambushes. So the Russian forces, even if they have no one fighting against them, they will still have to move slowly. So, but 1 kilometer a day is a lot for a contested front line. So this is what we have reported in yesterday's frontline changes report, where the Russian forces have secured Voschev, and this advance around here, this is mapped by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, and we have confirmation from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 27th of July's report mentioning Serhievka. Serhievka cannot be reached if there is no Russian advance along this railway line. So Serhievka, the report of fighting near Serhievka is now a confirmation by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry that the Russians have indeed broken through the lines between Zeleny and Vasily. So the Russians have basically indeed have broken through in that area here. Continue Russians' progress towards Pokrovsk. So this is massive situation around here, and the 47th Mechanized Brigade, based on Deep State UA's report, based on their contact with the battalion commander, in the 47 mechanized, they have confirmed that the Ukrainians have lost Pokrovsk and Vostochny. This is confirmed by the Ukrainian side. Right now, the Russian forces have conquered Pokrovsk and Vostochny is no longer under Ukrainian control. Russian forces continue to storm down this railway line, hitting multiple settlements at once. So very, very significant developments around this area here. And the Russian forces is likely to continue to go down the railway line heading towards Pokrovsk. And if they go by this direction, they don't even need to capture Krodivka or Mironograd. So this is a totally different situation that the Ukrainians have to face if the Russians decided to go around these two major towns. And capturing Pokrovsk would elevate the Ukrainians' need, elevate the Russian needs to capture Krodivka and Mironograd. So just to emphasize a bit of the importance of this huge development around at Vasily region towards Serhievka. There's more frontline change after here. Over at the Novoselivka Persia region, this entire region also have went to shit. Over at Novoselivka, the Russian forces expanded their control around here in the northwest of Novoselivka Persia, and the Ukrainian mapping has confirmed that the Russian forces have captured most of Novoselivka Persia. And they have even expanded the control beyond what the Russian mapping have done, going outside in the south of Novoselivka Persia. And at this rate, the Ukrainian's position is the Ukrainian so-called the Russian not captured position of Novoselivka Persia is only this part. This tiny little region over here is the only part that the Russians have not been mapped to have conquered. It's just this part. Only this little area here. Essentially, I can't even believe if the Ukrainians are actually there. So most likely, we are going to have this declaration by the Ukrainian side that Novoselivka Persia has been captured by the Russian forces. This expansion of a front line continues to stretch downwards all the way towards Yasnobrodivka. With the Yasnobrodivka region, Russian forces taken all these grounds in the north of Yasnobrodivka. Massive captures all along to the western part of Umansky and have expanded their control over at Yasnobrodivka. These are all confirmed by the Ukrainian mapping. So the Russian forces is now heading westward towards Skushny as we speak. In the Ukrainian lines, the entire stretch is now losing ground, and I think the Ukrainians may be doing a mass withdrawal at this moment as we speak across this entire front line around here. I think the Ukrainians are actually withdrawing. But not going to analysis, I want you to watch the situation report over at the DPA War channel later, maybe in 8 to 12 hours time. So I don't want to go too much about that because we still have frontline changes reports to cover. So Yasnobrodivka, we previously have mapped like this. Russian forces confirmed due to geolocation, and Ukrainian mapping have not acknowledged, and the way they draw the line is a bit further west, a little bit more. So the Russian forces actually takes a bit more ground than previously understood. So, and after Yasnobrodivka, after the end, all this frontline change over at the Avdiivka front, we go into Krasnohorivka. Battle of Krasnohorivka, new updates coming out, crazy changes. Ukrainian mapping have acknowledged the Russians almost near full capture of the entirety of the main part of the Krasnohorivka, the main city area. The entire region here is now met by the Ukrainian side as almost fully captured. However, this does not mean that Krasnohorivka has fallen. Krasnohorivka includes this northern part, this entire northern wing. So if I zoom out a bit, you can see that there is still this entire northern wing of Krasnohorivka that is still not captured by the Russian forces. The Ukrainians still have there, but the Russians have taken most of Krasnohorivka. So the main part have been taken. Now the Russians have to go into this wing over in the north, and this is also not a small place. This is still a huge expanse of ground. The settlement stretches almost 7 kilometers long over in this northern part. So we can actually kind of say that the Krasnohorivka south has been taken. Now the battle is going to start to move to Krasnohorivka north, in a way. So that's the main part on Krasnohorivka. The details is pretty pointless. This is what we have mapped based on the geolocation, and then the Ukrainian mapping has confirmed this area here. This area is based on also based on Russian claims. This area here entirely, this is based on Ukrainian mapping. They have confirmed that the Russians have captured all this ground. This is the only part where is Russian claim, but basically the entirety is now and this part, this is Russian claim. So let me mark out. So only these two part here is Russian claim. Everything else here is confirmed Russian control, Russian capture, confirmed. So Russian forces taken all this ground. These are confirmed over here. Very, very significant. I do not know how to get more excited to show the importance of this frontline changes. Is huge. Really, really huge frontline changes. So the next frontline change is over at Maximilianivka. This is based on the Russian mapping. So in the Russian mapping, is a bit different from our DPA one. So it's like this. This is how they mapped. So we update the Russian side mapping as per this, because previously we have a geolocation of Russian forces at this position, but we map it in a very conservative way. So Russian mapping has a bit more grounds being captured. So the battle of Maximilianivka continues. And the next frontline change is over at Konstantinivka. So over at the Konstantinivka region, Russian forces has been geolocated south of Konstantinivka over this position, confirming Russian conquest of this region and invalidating Ukrainian claims over in this part of this tree line. And this is exactly what I have mentioned in the situation report, that the Russians have first attacked and starting to attack here, and I believe that they would actually swing south to hit up north. And this is exactly what the Russian forces is seemingly doing. So because as I mentioned before, heading only in this one direction is like a full frontal attack, which I don't think the Russians would do. So a swing from the south flanking up northward would make perfect sense. Very Russian way of doing operations, and this is exactly what we are now looking at right now based on the geolocation of Russian forces. So after Konstantinivka, south of this position, we have new updates over in the direction towards Vodian. Russian forces geolocated in an entirely new position, confirming Russian progress over in the Vodian region. And this is the Russian progress around here. From the geolocation to the highway is around 2.3 kilometers, or just round down to 2 kilometers. That's the distance right now, the Russian position to the highway. This area here, probably the Russians do not have control anymore because it was just a mad rush. But it still doesn't change the fact that the Russian positions is now so close to the highway that it must be super concerning for the Ukrainian side right now, with the distance now at the closest point is around 2 kilometers. So very, very significant change around here over at Vodian as well. And there's one last frontline change is over at Robotine. So over at the Zaporizhia front. So this is Zaporizhia city and this is Zaporizhia front. Over at the Orikhiv sector at Robotine, there is some updates. Russian forces geolocated in the northern outskirts of Robotine, confirming Russian presence around that region. And so with this also invalidates everything here in the south where the Ukrainians have claimed possible Ukrainian control. This is unlikely to be true anymore due to this geolocation. Because of the fact that there's zero, if the Russians are here, there's almost near zero way for the Ukrainians to resupply and reinforce any Ukrainian troops that could be along this tree line. So this is unlikely to be true anymore. So the Russian forces have basically taken all these grounds in the western part of Robotine, confirming Russian expansion of control around Robotine itself. So anyway, these are all the frontline changes over in the past 24 hours. 24 hours, this much changes. And the Russian Defense Ministry have announced the capture of Lozovatsky. This is over at the Avdiivka front. This is just a confirmation of what we have already reported on the 20th of July. The Russian Defense Ministry took a week before the announcement. So thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe, share this with everyone that you know, especially for those that is very ill-informed about the Ukraine war. Share it, inform them, make sure that no one is getting duped by fake information. Very important, because false information not just cause emotional damage, but it will cause people to support wrong policies and cause more people to die. So it's important to know the truth. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next update.